Good, happy Tuesday morning, March 1st, 2022. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this Tuesday morning edition of your news update right here on the Riley King Radio Network. Let's get started right now. First up, Ukrainian exchange student studying in New Hampshire watches family live through Russian invasion. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Here's me and my mom. I just graduated from middle school.
Now exchange student Daniil Shapovalov finds himself over 4,500 miles away from his homeland of Ukraine as bombs fall and a humanitarian crisis grows.
It just started blowing up. Kiev got bombed, Kharkiv got bombed, Lviv got bombed. I was trying to call my mom and she didn't answer me because of all explosions, connection was really bad. Yeah, but at least she's alive.
Daniil's grandmother, mother, sister, and friends finding themselves in bomb shelters.
Me, and two of my best friends.
Some of his friends, over 18, are choosing to arm themselves and fight for their freedoms. Daniil says he suspects some of them won't return.
We have to protect our country. We have to protect our families. We have to protect our friends.
Through this whole thing, he's put on a brave face and hasn't seemed too upset, but I can imagine what it feels like on the inside.
Caitlin Miller's family is hosting Daniil. They support him the best they can by cooking Ukrainian food, even watching Harry Potter. But the bleak reality always looms.
How do you grasp the fact that this is going on in the world and you just feel guilty? And you just wish you could do something, but at the same time you feel helpless because there's nothing you can do.
Through it all, Daniil continuing to show patriotism and hope.
I'm really nationalistic and I love everything about Ukraine. I love how it looks like. I love our cities. I like our people. And what I can say about Ukraine, Ukraine is an independent country. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to our heroes.
Daniil says his mother and grandmother have train tickets and are trying desperately to get into Poland, his sister to get into Belarus. In Nottingham, Grace Finerman, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Fire marshal investigates fire at Rochester Fairgrounds. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Right now, the state fire marshal is looking into the cause of this fire at the Rochester Fairgrounds that's being called suspicious. This video was sent in by one of our viewers. Investigators say it happened at a storage center at the fairgrounds and thankfully has been knocked down. No injuries have been reported.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Kuntuka Creamery asks for help naming a cow. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Kuntuka Creamery just welcomed a new baby girl to the family, and they're asking Granite Staters to help give her a name.
The calf was born earlier today. You can see what a cutie she is. And now you have the chance to help pick a name. The only requirement is that it starts with A. If your suggestion is chosen, you'll get a thank you gift. An assortment of products made at the Creamery, including their blueberry and maple milk flavors.
Very cool indeed. So if you have a good name for it, send in your name prediction if you have a good name for the cow. Russian troops slowed by Ukrainian resistance. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine 5 days in, U.S. authorities tonight believe that Vladimir Putin was not expecting the resistance he has seen from the Ukrainians, nor was he expecting the U.S. and the West, that NATO would put up a united front quite like what we've seen. But tonight, a convoy of Russian troops, many miles long, now just 17 miles from the capital of Kyiv. And tonight, the horrific images coming in from Ukraine's second largest city of Kharkiv. Late today, Ukraine's president accusing Russia of targeting civilian areas now, calling it clearly a war crime. The casualties are mounting, including children, and tonight here are the new images showing fierce shelling in a residential area that's in Kharkiv, again, the second largest city. Images from social media showing Ukrainian soldiers fighting on the streets of Kharkiv with automatic weapons and rocket-propelled grenades. The Ukrainian military saying this video shows their drone strike on Russian forces. But tonight, this satellite image taken just today showing one of several convoys of Russian military vehicles, one convoy alone now stretching 17 miles long, growing by the day, and headed toward Kyiv. Today, there were talks, a delegation from Ukraine arriving at the border with Belarus, meeting with the Russians for 6 hours, agreeing only that they will meet again. While in Ukraine, President Zelensky signing an application for immediate membership in the European Union and asking for a no-fly zone over Ukraine. What the White House is saying about that tonight. And the U.S. and a host of other nations taking more steps to freeze Russian assets, even traditionally neutral Switzerland, no longer neutral. The impact already being felt in Russia tonight. Long lines for cash at banks and ATMs there, the value of the ruble sinking. Vladimir Putin meeting with advisors today, blaming the economic crisis on the West, which he called an empire of lies. And after Putin put his nuclear forces on heightened alert, tonight President Biden and what he said when asked today, should Americans be concerned about nuclear war? Here's our senior foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, leading us off tonight from Kyiv.
Tonight, Russian shells pummeling a residential neighborhood in Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine. Officials there saying dozens of civilians were killed in potentially the worst single attack of this war. Human Rights Watch accusing the Russians of using cluster bombs on the city. If verified, a deliberate attack on civilian areas would be a war crime. Ceasefire talks between Ukraine and Russia on the border with Belarus ended after 6 hours with no deal, but an agreement to try to meet again in the coming days. With a Russian advance slowed by a fierce Ukrainian defense, there are fears Putin will intensify his attacks, already raising tensions with the West even higher by putting Russia's nuclear forces on heightened alert. President Biden answered with one word when asked today if Americans should be worried about nuclear war.
Mr. President, should Americans be worried about nuclear war?
No. The Pentagon says Russia still has significant combat power, but has met stiff resistance from the Ukrainians.
It's clear the Russians have not made the progress that they wanted to make by day 5.
New satellite images today show a miles-long column of Russian armed vehicles and tanks just 17 miles from the center of Kyiv, but Putin's army being met head-on. The Ukrainians releasing this drone video from outside of the capital, claiming to have knocked out part of the Russian column, burned out vehicles littering the roads around Kyiv. And north of the city, these locals reportedly stopping a Russian tank from entering their village. In Kharkiv this weekend, Ukrainian forces battled Russian troops in the streets, even forcing them to retreat in a relentless defense of the city. But in the south, Russians appear to be advancing on the strategic Black Sea port of Mariupol. Heartbreaking images emerging there of some of the youngest casualties of this war. Here, a 9-year-old girl lies in the back of an ambulance as a medic races to save her life. It was too late. At least 16 children have already been killed in the fighting, which officials say has claimed over 350 lives in all. After rallying his fighters over the weekend, Ukrainian President Zelensky today praising the heroic defense being put up by his army and the country's citizen soldiers, saying Ukrainians have shown who we are. Russia has shown what it's become. He later signed an application to join the European Union. It's a symbolic move that could take years to pass. Even so, it's a message of defiance to Putin. And around the world, outrage at this brutal invasion is only growing. The UN General Assembly held its first emergency session in decades. Officials warning they're preparing for up to 4 million refugees from Ukraine in coming days and weeks.
Well, we're here in one of the main train stations in Kiev, and you can see the crush and the desperation of people desperate to get out of a city, fearing that it could come under siege from the Russians at any time.
French President Macron calling Putin today, who reportedly agreed to halt all strikes on civilians. But there's no evidence that's happening from a man who also said he wasn't going to invade in the first place. In Belarus, to Ukraine's north, American diplomats could be seen taking down the flag at the embassy in Minsk today, which is now suspending operations. And in the capital, tensions rising with every passing hour. Volodymyr Tkachuk, a former soldier, picking up his ammunition in defense of his country.
Do you have javelins here? Oh, okay, secrets. But they're for you tactically. Javelins are helpful.
Тобто тактично джавелини корисні.
Так.
One-word answer, yes. Ian Panel with us from the Ukrainian capital again tonight. Ian, I know President Zelensky, as we reported there, now urging the U.S. and NATO to impose a no-fly zone over significant parts of the country. The White House late today saying that's not going to happen and explaining why.
Yeah, that's right. Their answer is no, because, of course, a no-fly zone would mean deploying U.S. military to enforce it, which, of course, the president's ruled out, and it would run a high risk of a potential direct conflict with Russia, which, of course, David, no one wants.
Ian Panel leading our coverage again this week. Ian, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this news update right here on the Riley King Radio Network. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next time for another news update right here on the Riley King Radio Network. Goodbye, everyone.